Hey guys, this is Ray. Welcome to Asian Films, and today we'll be talking about the 1985 Japanese masterpiece Tampopo, directed by Itami Juzo and starring Miyamoto Nobuko, Yamazaki Tsutomi, and Yakusho Koji, and it even stars a young Watanabe Ken. And long story short, I consider Tampopo to be somewhere in my top 5 favorite Japanese films of all time. Maybe even in my top 3. I don't know if it's my favorite of all time. There are a lot of movies that contend for that spot, but Tampopo is definitely one of my all-time favorite Japanese films. The story of Tampopo, it stars Miyamoto Nobuko as the titular character Tampopo, which roughly translates to dandelion from Japanese to English. And Tampopo is a single mother with a struggling ramen restaurant. And here we have Goro and Gan, played by Yamazaki Tsutomi and Watanabe Ken respectively. And they're truck drivers, and one rainy evening, they're hungry, so they stop on by Tampopo's restaurant for some noodles. And they find it inhabited with these local thugs, if you will. These, not gangsters per se, but I would say more like thugs, these drunk thugs. And this prompts Goro to step in and fight off the thugs. But then he kind of gets overpowered and gets knocked out because it's like 5-1 or something like that. Anyways, Goro wakes up the next morning in Tampopo's house because Tampopo's house and restaurant, I think, are the same building. Then Tampopo treats Goro and Gan to some breakfast. And then, while they're having their morning meal, Tampopo asks Goro and Gan to critique her noodles, and they say, well, frankly, it's just not good. It's just not good enough. And so after dropping knowledge about how ramen should be made and served, Tampopo requests Goro to be her mentor, be her teacher, and try to instruct her in helping her become a better ramen chef. So Goro, he's reluctant at first, but he accepts the offer, and along the way, while training her to be this ramen chef, he kind of slowly acquires a team, all with a different role, all with a different purpose, in helping Tampopo level up. So when it comes to the positives of Tampopo, well, simply put, absolutely everything. I mean, I enjoyed this movie from minute 1 all the way to the end. There was never any dull moments in this movie. I mean, Itami Juzo's movies, I think the topics in his films they're always well thought of, and they're often controversial too. I think there was a film that got him in trouble with the Yakuza at one point in his career that genuinely put his life in danger. But his movies are always often well thought out and brilliantly executed. And that's no exception with Tampopo. And one of the things I love about Tampopo, just how cleverly it mixes in spaghetti western tropes into its story. I mean, it becomes kind of a ramen western, if you will. I mean, you have Goro, for example. He's the lone stranger, man with no name archetype. He strolls into town, just passing through, and he goes into a saloon, or in this case, a ramen restaurant, and he sees local thugs or outlaws inhabit the establishment, fights them off not in the name of justice per se, but just fights them off, and decides to help out the locals and trying to help it make it a better and safer place. I mean, even if you look at his costume, he has a cowboy hat, he has a trusty steed, or in this case, it's a truck. Well, the truck kind of has bull horns to kind of drive the point home even more. And even like at the end of the movie, not spoiling anything, but he rides off into the sunset, just like how you would imagine a typical spaghetti western hero to do. And that goes without saying. The performances in Tampopo were absolutely wonderful. I mean, Yamazaki Tsutomi, he was amazing and entertaining as the coach mentor type. Then you have Miyamoto Nobuko, who was just absolutely lovely and absolutely magnetic as Tampopo. And when you put the two of them together, they had excellent chemistry. It was fun watching them, and they pretty much had a coach-athlete kind of relationship. You know how like they even have scenes in which Goro has Tampopo just do some road work, and he's trailing behind in a bike, pushing her along, telling her not to give up, not to fall behind. And he even has her do weight training drills, lifting the cooking pot back and forth from one spot of her kitchen to the other. It's pretty funny. And they even go on outings to different restaurants, different ramen restaurants more specifically, to kind of not only observe the competition, but just kind of take notes on each of the experiences they've had at each of these restaurants. And also, they try to figure out different techniques that the ramen chefs implement into their dishes. In addition to the two lead characters, you have a slew of not only supporting characters, but just random characters altogether. They just pop in and out of the movie. First of all, let's start with the supporting characters that make up the team of Tampopo. They all have a specific role. I don't think any character was wasted. You had the character who was in charge of leveling up her noodles. You had the character who was in charge of leveling up her soup. You even had the character who was in charge of just playing the customer and like kind of giving her pointers on how to serve a customer, as someone who's into customer service. And I love the way the different random characters are introduced. You don't know any of their names. You kind of just go by their descriptions because they kind of pop in the screen. Like maybe Tampopo and crew are doing something over here. Then you see them kind of walking, and that's their introduction. They walk into frame, and then the camera kind of follows them out of frame, and then you go follow them into their story. And each of these little mini stories, these side stories, were amazingly entertaining. Some of them were you would hurt your belly just laughing and just questioning what the hell you watched. And I think at first you might wonder, what do these random characters have to do with the story? What do they have to do with Tampopo's story? I think, and I thought that too, but then the more you think about it, the more you realize that everyone is tied together by food. I mean, food is a central core theme that ties every one of these characters together. Each one of these side characters, each one of these side stories have something to do revolving around food. I mean, there's so many memorable scenes featuring these characters. I mean, the spaghetti scene. You have the French restaurant where you have the youngin just upstage the older folks without him really even trying. But I gotta say the most memorable character, and he's featured in a few more than one scene. He's actually the first character you get introduced to, but I think the best of these random characters is the man in the white suit, played by a young Yakusho Koji. Because I mean, come on, it's Yakusho Koji. That guy is an amazing actor, and even though this movie was released in 1985, he still had a lot of charisma back in that day. And of course, as any good movie will do, this movie will make you hungry. But it won't do it in a way that's typical with food movies, where I find that in a lot of food movies they have close-ups on the food. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of good close-ups on ramen dishes, but this movie doesn't really rely on it. It might show like one or two shots of up-close shots of ramen, but it doesn't stay there for very long. And instead, the way the movie makes you hungry is that you watch everyone eat and you watch everyone enjoy their food. You watch the sounds that they make as they slurp their noodles loudly. Then you realize, man, I kind of want to have some ramen now too. And needless to say, I have no negatives at all for this movie. It was 100% positive for me. And it's just a movie, overall, it's just a movie with a lot of heart and a lot of zaniness, a lot of just random bizarre stuff that happens. Not just with the characters and the side stories that they experience, but just the way it makes you feel at the end. Of course you're going to get hungry, but then, you're going to be questioning why you get hungry. Is it because you saw Yakusho Koji share an egg with that woman? Is it because you saw an old man offer this kid some ice cream? Is it because you saw Tampopo cook up a kick-ass pot of noodles? But no matter how much you get hungry, I guarantee that you will laugh as hard in the equal amount that you are hungry. And I wouldn't be surprised if you find yourself going to a ramen restaurant directly after watching this movie. And if you do, don't forget to take that chashu and just put it in the corner of the bowl and say to it lovingly, I'll see you again soon. But yes, a movie with so much heart, so much charm, so much charisma, so many memories. But yes, those are my thoughts on Tampopo. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you really dig my content, please know that you can always support Asian Filmless via Patreon from as little as $1. And yes, that's about it for me, guys. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you all again in the next video. Take it easy.